This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everyone. Agun Erev Shabbos as we prepare for Parshas Vayechi, Shabbos Chazak, Shabbos Chanukas Habayis in our new Kehillah, Kehillah Savas Yisrael. So we know that the Gemara in Tainus discusses a rather difficult phenomenon where we have conversation between Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak, and it said, Yaakov Avinu loimes. Yaakov Avinu didn't die. So what does that mean? So they asked, V'chi b'chdi, saftu saftanaya, v'chantu chantaya, v'kavru kavraya. So exactly when they were wrapping the tissue paper around him and mummifying him, who is inside? And when the Chevra Kadisha came to dig the hole and they who did they put in? And who did they eulogize? It says, no, Rabbi Yochanan, what are you talking about? Mikra ni doiresh, I darshan a pasuk. What's the pasuk? Al tira avdi Yaakov, hineni moshiachim meirachaik v'zaracha me'eretz merchakim. Makish hu lazara. Yaakov is compared to his descendants. Ma zaroi b'chayim, af Yaakov avinu b'chayim. Just like the descendants of Yaakov are alive, Yaakov is alive. So this is a very difficult Gemara. I understand, we had a kasha. The kasha was, the reality is, the man's not around, he's dead. They buried him, they eulogized him, and they embalmed him. So how can you say he didn't die? No, don't worry, I darshaned it. You could darshan from today until Mashiach, and Yemosam Mashiach. You could darshan all day long. With how do you answer the question? The reality is he's not alive. So that's what we want to discuss today. What do Chazal mean? Yaakov Avinu loimes. Amazingly, the Alshich really brings to our attention that every time the Torah speaks about the death of Yaakov, it never uses the name Yaakov. It always uses the name Yisrael. For example, in this week's Parsha, whenever it talks about the demise of this individual, it always switches his name to Yisrael. So, Vayechi Yaakov v'Eretz Mitzrayim. Yaakov lived, but Vayikru Yimei Yisrael lamos. But Yisrael approached to die. And Vayomer Elohim la matzah sichem beinecha simna yadcha tachas yirechi. So, on the one hand, Chazal say Yaakov Avinu never died. But on the other hand, it says that he was buried, eulogized, and mummified, and embalmed, but it says Yisrael died. By the way, in Parshas Vayigash, when Yaakov says to Paroi how old he was, he says, Yemei shnei megurai shlosh ma'ashana ma'ad v'ram ha'yemei shnei chayai v'lo hishsigu es yemei shnei chayai v'es me'am. Look in the Rabbeinu Bechaye in his Akdama to Vayechi, that we find that by Yosef, he sustained his father 17 years. In the Zechus, Mida Keneged Mida, in the Zechus that Yaakov did, that he sustained Yosef for 17 years. Because Yosef was 17. It says, Eila told us Yaakov is Manjah, was Chush, Shapirnas, Yaakov is Yosef, Shvaz Shana, Matzino, Shapirnas, Yosef, Yaakov, and Sam Shvaz Shana. Mida Keneged Mida. Now, think about that for a moment. In the Zechus that Yaakov fed his son, Yaakov was sustained by his son. So what we learn from here is that when Yaakov fed his son, he didn't feed his son, well, what am I supposed to do? Give him, drop him off at an orphanage somewhere? Yaakov Avinu fed his son as a mitzvah, as a chesed, as an act of emulating Hashem. So Hashem repaid Yaakov Avinu in kind, that then, when he needed it, his son was able to keep him alive. And that's a very important idea to bear in mind, that we live our lives and we do things that we don't really think why we do them, because it's expected, we have to, we're responsible. But even things we have to and are responsible to do, if we would think we're doing it as a mitzvah, then the Rebbe Shem pays back Mida Keneged Mida. Now, interesting, in the Das Akeni Valley Tosfos, he also brings this down, and the Baal Turim brings down that the 17 years of the life of Yaakov Avinu that Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim correspond to the sustenance that Yaakov provided to Yosef for 17 years. Now, let's get to the crux of the matter. We quoted the Gemara in Tainus on Daf Hey Amid Beis. Let's see the Alshich. The Alshich has an astounding explanation of this. V'lamed ala in number 14. Nesoirer aloshan hamikra. To be oimed on this subject, let us pay attention to the language of the pasuk. Ki halo yipale. It's a wonder. Ki kol ha'makam asher yazker hamisa liyakov b'shem Yisrael yichaneu. Every time it talks about Yaakov's death, it calls him Yisrael. Uvemakom asher yazker gevia va'asifa b'li haskaras maves. And whenever it uses the expression expiration and being gathered in, without using the term death, b'shem Yaakov yichaneu. He is called in the name of Yaakov. Ki hine nemar. Because the pasuk says, Vayomer Yisrael amusa hapam. Yisrael said, I will die now. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef hine anichi meis. Yisrael said to Yosef, behold, I'm going to die. Vayikruvu yimei Yisrael amos. And Yisrael approached dying. Ach b'Yaakov lo nemar rak gevia. But Yaakov, it only says gevia. In other words, let's observe the following phenomenon. Whenever it says Misa, it never says Yaakov. It always says Yisrael. Whenever it says Gevia or Asifa, that's where Yaakov is used. For example, Yisrael's Vayomer Yisrael Amusa Apam. Vayomer Yisrael Hine Anochi Meis. Vayikru Yis Olamos. Every time it says Misa, it says Yisrael. But by Yaakov, it only says Gevia. Like it says Vayichal Yaakov, Litzaveh says Bonav. Vayigva. Now, because of this question, someone want to say this proves that Yaakov is greater than Yisrael. Because Yaakov's name doesn't die, only Yisrael's name dies. Some want to prove that the word Yaakov is greater than Yisrael. The appellation Yaakov is on a higher madrega. However, amnam asher chashavti lemishma kinafechu. Just the opposite. Yisrael is on a higher madrega than Yaakov. Because when he was called Yisrael, nitoisef barucha v'nishmasai, Yisroin ar yakar. When he was called Yisrael, it was added into his spirit an advantage, an elevated advantage, ma'oid ma'oid, than what he was on before. In other words, when he was called Yisrael, he was elevated to a new plateau. Now, says the Aushach B'nei Yadua ki geder misa hu sila kanefesh me'agaf. What is misa? When the nefesh is removed from the body. V'oimra ki nei hagoder hagodol asher nitoisef al nafshay rucha v'nishmasay kishenekar Yisrael hu asher nestalek mimeno ba'etzem. That's what left. B'yokin yitztak b'loshen misa ki abechina hi meisa v'nestalek mi'agav gamri. Means like this. When we say Yaakov Avinu loy meis, Yisrael meis, that means, what does the word misa mean? Literally, it means for something to cease. Says the Alshich, the madrega of Yisrael was a greater madrega than Yaakov. The madrega, the bechina of Yisrael, that's what departed. Therefore, whenever it says misa, the word Yisrael is used. But in the bechina of Yaakov, which was the madrega they had before, that never left him. It only expired. He says, like somebody who fainted, that all of his koichos, hanefesh, and his ruach, and his neshama still cling to him. Again, it doesn't mean in any sense that Yaakov Avinu did not die in the physical sense that we say. What it means is, the madrega of Yisrael that Yaakov was given by the Rebbeinu Shem after he wrestled with the Malach of Angel of Esav, that spiritual gift left him for the time being. However, the madrega of Yaakov that he always had always clings to the guf of Yaakov Avinu. That madrega is always with him. That is the approach of the Alshich. In other words, let's glean one thing, and then we're going to take it to the next level. And that is, when Chazal say Yaakov Avinu loy meis, it means the madrega of Yaakov loy meis. The madrega of Yisrael did die. But on all accounts, Yaakov physically did expire. Now, I want to bring to your attention a comment of a sefer that this is the only time we've said it over. There's a sefer Michlal Yofi on Koheles with from Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem of Varmaiza. When we were in Worms, we were also at his kever, and he says a wondrous thing. Historically, Yaakov Avinu was given the neshama of Yaakov. That's his name. His name is Yaakov. And then a name was added. So we know that a person's neshama is connected to his Shem. The word neshama has in it Shem. The Shem is the identity of the neshama. So when he was given the name Yisrael, he was given an added identity and an added neshama. So he has a new neshama, a neshama noisefes. But when Yosef was sold, the soul of Yaakov Avinu literally left him. When Yosef was sold, Yaakov lost his Ruach HaKodesh. Why did he lose his Ruach HaKodesh? Because his neshama left. So when the pasuk says, when he got the Besura, that Yosef is still alive, so his Ruach came back. He was again Yaakov. And you can only die once. Why Yaakov Avinu lo meis? Because he already died. But then he came back to life. He came back to life. So yeah, that Yaakov's neshama can never leave. It's impossible, says Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem. He uses the following expression: "Trei katala like katlina," and you can't kill it. That's why you can't kill somebody who's dead. You can't. So therefore, only Yisrael died, but Yaakov's bechina never died because it already died once, and when it came back to life, now it's invincible, so to speak. Look at number 16. Achein. Lefi in Yonenu, hu al derech she'amru zal, Yaakov Avinu lo meis. Ki yadua sheshinoi Hashem geremes neshama chadasha. We know that when one changes their name, it causes a new soul. Uchshekara HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yaakov Yisrael, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Yaakov Yisrael, Nizdam neloi neshama chadasha nitoisef al harishayna. He was given to him a new soul more than the first soul. Uchshenimkar Yosef, when Yosef was sold, Nistal kamimena neshama yishana shel Yaakov. The first soul of Yaakov was removed. V'savla tsar pirud min ha'olam. He already suffered the tsar of leaving the world, the hainu tsar ha'maves. Uchshenizbaser sheYosef melech Mitzrayim. And when he was given the Besura that Yosef, king of Egypt, was king of Egypt, Siv v'atechi ruach Yaakov aviyem, shechazra elav haneshama shel Yaakov. The soul of Yaakov returned to him. Uchshemes Yaakov nichtav v'soif Vayechi. When Yaakov died, it always says Yisrael died. The end of Vayechi will never say Yaakov died. Kikfar savlet sar misa. He already experienced the pain of death. Utrei ketala like halinon. V'naneshama shel Yaakov adayin kayemes u'mishoitetes ba'olam. The soul of Yaakov still is in this world. That's what it means. Yaakov Avinu lo meis. That typically when a person dies, the body goes and decomposes and the soul goes upstairs. The soul leaves Olam Hazeh. V'hamesim lo yadu me'uma. But the soul of Yaakov never died. The soul of Yaakov is always with Klal Yisrael. How could that be? Everybody's soul goes up. Mi yodei aruach b'nei hadam ha'elahi lemala. Doesn't the soul arise to Shemayim? Yeah, that's when you die. Yaakov's soul never died because it died, so it didn't have to die. It floats around the world, umechapa aleim, and it covers them ke'ema mechapa al b'na hakatan, like a mother who hovers over her young son. V'zeu she'omer Chazal b'Gemara tainis Yaakov Avinu lo meis, and they learn it from the Hekesh. Ma'azare b'chayim. So, Hagoyin Reb Pinchas Friedman in the Shvilei Pinchas cites these Mar Mekayimos, and he wants to say as follows. He says, according to this, we have a new understanding of the pasuk Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim Shvayas Reishana. What we learn is Yaakov's soul already departed in time of Mechiras Yosef. That was the gather of Misa from the neshama of Yaakov Avinu. Now he only has the neshama of Yisrael. And when he was told that Yosef is still alive, so Yaakov's neshama came back. So he comes out, Nishmas Yaakov is now ready for Hetchiyah. Vayechi Yaakov b'eretz Mitzrayim. Therefore, the pasuk continues, Vayikru yimei Yisrael amos. Don't make a mistake and think that after these 17 years, Yaakov's soul departed. You would think, look, if he had it, Tchias HaMesim, and the soul of Yaakov returned, but when he got to 147 years old, maybe that soul of Yaakov left him again. No, Vayikrevu Yisrael Lamos, only the soul of Yisrael was getting ready to die. But the neshama of Yaakov Avinu lo meis, and as we once said, Titein emes liYaakov. Why do we say that Yaakov Avinu lo meis? Because Yaakov Avinu clings to God. God is a kel emes. Titein emes liYaakov. Listen, Titein emes li. Emes lamed. What? Take those letters. MS Lamed, 4 letters. MS Lamed, Loimes. That's why Yaakov Avinu did not pass away. He clung to the truth, and as the Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem, teaches, only his neshama, the neshama of Yisrael, left this world, not the neshama of Yaakov, which still hovers over Klal Yisrael like a mother protecting her young. Wishing everyone an amazing Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.